Well, good Monday morning, everyone. I hope you had a good weekend. And if you were at Saddleback Church, Laguna Woods, if that's your church, then you did have, because I was there. I'm sure you did at your church also. But yesterday was our 15-year anniversary. And what a fun day. And I'll remember it for a long time. And I'm still remembering right now the good scrambled eggs we had and all that. That's always a lot of fun. But one thing that we did have yesterday that I wasn't able to show you last week in our anniversary week was the congratulatory message that our pastor Andy Wood sent to us. So I want to play that right now. It's only a minute and a half, so I'm going to just pause, let you see that, because I want you to get to know Andy, because this week's what we're going to do all week actually relates to Andy. Okay, watch this.
Hey, everybody at our Laguna Woods campus. I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, from Stacy and I both, we love you so very much. And we're so grateful for you. Today is a day of celebration. 15 years old, 15 years of faithful ministry. God has done so many amazing things through you. And I love Pastor Rick Bradford. His heart for Jesus, his heart for you just oozes. And the love that you ooze, the way that you welcome people, you're hospitable. When we first moved here, when we came to the campus with our family, I was blown away by your love, your hospitality, the way that you welcomed us. We still talk about that encounter that we had with you guys. And it's no wonder God's used you so powerfully from Grief Share. You were the first campus to do Grief Share. You were the first campus to have an offsite pantry, and really just the third offsite campus to get started. And I do believe that God has strategically positioned you for a ministry that's unlike anything I've ever seen before. You're touching the lives of people who are at a pivotal season of their journey, people who are making decisions to follow Jesus, people who perhaps maybe are lonely and isolated from friends and family. Your ministry is so very significant to what God is doing through Saddleback. And so I want to say congratulations. I want you to know I love you. I want you to know I'm celebrating with you and believing that God has many more years of faithful ministry in front of you. Happy 15th anniversary.
Thank you, Andy. I appreciate that you took the time to do that. And we do love you and your wife, Pastor Stacy. And what a blessing you are to our campus and our church. Now, why does this relate? Why does seeing Andy relate to what we're going to do this week? Well, about a month and a half ago, I think it was, I might have the time a little off, but recently we had a meeting and Pastor Andy went over 5 staff values that are very important to him. And that not only should we strive to have these in our life, but when we look for new staff, these are qualities that, as we interview, that we're looking for in those new ministers to minister alongside of us. But you know what? I was thinking, I really appreciate all 5 of these values that Andy has written out. And they're good not just for professional pastors or ministers. No, they're good for every follower of Jesus. That's why they can be our values at Saddleback. But we're going to look at one of those each day this week. Now, for today, the number one, well, I don't, all 5 are equally important. I don't think that the order has any direct correlation to their importance. But the number one listed is that we value humility in people. Why? Because God does. Actually, that's true of every one of these values. It's not that we value them so much as that we want to recognize that they're important to us as a staff, but God recognizes them as qualities that you and I should have in our life. And the first one we want to think about today is humility and humility. And he says, we are grateful people serving an extraordinary God. and you want to have humility, I'm going to give you 3 quick steps for humility. Number 1, picture who God is. Picture who God is. When you do that, that alone, we wouldn't even need to go any further. Our God is the infinite, knows no bounds, infinite creator God of the universe, which means he has unlimited power, he has unlimited wisdom, he has unlimited love, he has unlimited every one of his characteristics or attributes. And when you see this magnificent God, how else can we feel but humble in the sight of that? You want humility? Go out and look at the stars tonight. That should make us humble. Because you and I had 0 input into all those stars. 0. Now, picturing who God is, observing Jesus's example. Here was this mighty God, and he came to earth, took on the form of a man, went to the cross, and died for you and I. And while he was doing that, as he was doing that, listen to what he did on his last night here on, well, yeah, his last night here on earth. He was at the last, what we call the Last Supper in the upper room. John chapter 13 at verse 4, it says, so he got up from the meal, Jesus. He took his outer clothing and wrapped a towel around his waist. And after that, he poured water into a basin and he began to wash his disciples' feet, drying them with the towel that was wrapped around him. And he came to Simon Peter, who said to him, Lord, are you going to wash my feet? Jesus replied, you do not realize now what I'm doing, but later you will understand. In Jesus's last few moments, one of the things that he did prior to being arrested and then tried and crucified, one of his last acts was that of tremendous humility, of washing the disciples' feet. Friends, there is a lesson in that if there ever was a lesson. It was to serve people and be humble and put others ahead of us. That's what Jesus was doing. That's what Jesus was doing. Now, the third thing is to just observe Scripture. And there, of course, so much of it many times talks about being humble before the Lord. When it talks about giving up the best seat at the banquet to the poor. When it talks about how the last will be first. Lesson after lesson. But in James chapter 4 at verse 6, it says, and he gives grace generously. As the scriptures say, God opposes the proud, but he gives grace to the humble. God opposes the proud, but he gives grace to the humble. Humility. God has done such amazing things through the ministry of Saddleback Church around the world. We need to acknowledge that those things are done because God works through us, not because we're so great. We're not. We're just regular people, but open to serving God however he leads us. And then I'm going to tell you about the other 4 values, which then help make that come true. Hey, God bless. This is going to be an exciting week, I think. Certainly a week of lessons full for you and I. God bless. See you tomorrow.
Oh, come to the Father through Jesus the Son.